Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rewatchers Council here on the post credits. I'm Adelia, that's Shug. We are finally back to cover episodes 3 and 4 of WandaVision. Shug, how you doing tonight?
It's hot in California, so that's why I'm wearing a tank top. And if you hear the fans blowing in the background, I don't want to put on the air conditioning because that's like $1,000 a month for air
Yeah.
conditioning. So, but doing good, doing good. Excited to talk about WandaVision. We're getting through the midway of the season. Lots to talk about. Kind of a shift in the show in these next two episodes, going into the second half of the season. So it's gonna be fun to talk about.
Yeah, well, before we get started talking about everything, if you would please like the videos, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends. All of that helps us grow the channel. We are 2 subscribers away from 1100 on the channel. We'd really like to get there very soon. So if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's start with episode 3, which was titled Now in Color. We saw at the end of episode 2, and we talked about on our last episode, Wanda discovers she's pregnant, and then everything turns to color. This episode starts out very 1970s with the intro that's got references to like Mary Tyler Moore show and the Brady Bunch and the little intro montage of them buying baby stuff and eating ice cream and all that. I thought that was a lot of fun. It's got a song over it written by Robert and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who did the Frozen stuff. They did all the jingles for the WandaVision series. So I thought that was pretty good. Shug, what did you think of the intro?
Very much 1970s. Very much what I remember growing up watching TV with my grandmother at her house. So it's kind of cool to see. It's Wanda and Vision. Like it's just funny to see them in those kind of different TV shows that were like you said, we're up to like the 1970s, kind of moving into the 1980s. So it's interesting to see because this was kind of the TV I grew up on. As a kid with my grandmother. So it's kind of funny to see.
Yeah, this is the kind of TV I grew up on too, watching the Brady Bunch and all kinds of other shows like that on Nick at Night back in the 90s. Lots of fun doing all of that. We begin, it's very clearly now the 70s in whatever is going on here. And Vision and Wanda are talking with Dr. Nielsen, who I suspect was named Nielsen because of the Nielsen rating system. Wanda has become very visibly pregnant in a very short period of time. And Dr. Nielsen gives her a clean bill of health and says she's about 4 months along. And Vision just can't understand this. He can't grasp it. Like, 4 months, try 12 hours. It just cannot understand this. But Dr. Nielsen leaves and he's headed to Bermuda on a trip. And Vision shows him out and sees Herb.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting though, bringing up Bermuda, because like if you think about it, there's things that happens in this episode. The Bermuda Triangle where no people go but they never return, and how he was saying it and how he was describing it, very much as if a weird thing, and then how he's talking to Vision about it and all this stuff. So it was interesting. I caught that, saying Bermuda. Like, why would you go to Bermuda? You go to Hawaii, or Puerto Rico, or inside in the States or something. But why Bermuda? So that was good. I think that was a little Easter egg they were trying to say.
Could be. I had a completely different thought of that, which was this man who is playing Dr. Nielsen, whatever his real name is, because as we'll learn in episode 4, these are real people Wanda's like taken hostage. I wonder if he and his wife had a planned trip to Bermuda, and so that's part of the story now. He was going to go to Bermuda, but because of what's happened to Westview, he can't. So that was my sort of like thoughts when he said Bermuda.
Gotcha.
Um, I think there's a chance we're both right about that.
Maybe it's again rewatching it. You catch on to little things, and so that was something that I caught on to that I saw that I probably missed.
Yeah. I don't know that I ever really thought about it before when the show came out, or any
Yeah.
time I've watched the show since. So, Vision sees Dr. Nielsen out, and then he turns and he sees his neighbor Herb cutting through a concrete wall while trimming the hedges. And this was weird and never explained why Herb was cutting through the concrete wall.
Well, I think it's kind of implied that the whatever's going on with the town for that set because we've had little glimpses of breaks, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so this feels like it was a nod or a applied that there was a break and he's trying to tell Vision what's going on because and I'll probably save this for the next episode, but what we find out later a character says when they end up in a certain situation and kind of like what's going on in the next episode. I'll save it for that because I don't want to spoil it. But I think that that they're trying to communicate something to Vision of what's going on because I don't even
Yeah,
think
I agree.
he knows.
Yeah, Vision has no clue what's going on. Because Vision is part of it. Because Vision, as we know him, and is gone. He's dead. So this Vision showing up here is just part of what Wanda's doing, which we'll talk about as it comes into clarity in the next few episodes. Um, so Vision goes back inside, and Wanda is that like stuff starts happening. It starts raining in the house, like stuff's going crazy. They're putting together the nursery. She's using her powers. The mobile thing that hang above a crib that was butterflies. All the butterflies come to life. Like they have a little discussion about what to name the baby. Vision wants Billy after William Shakespeare. Wanda wants Tommy, classic American name. And
But she's not American.
I know she's not American.
Did you notice that sometimes the accent would come in, especially in the next episode, like the accent would come in and out.
Yeah. I think they do that on purpose because like so everybody freaked out when they saw Infinity War and she just didn't have the accent again. And to be clear, when you are an adult who moves to another country, your accent will change, but you don't completely lose it.
She completely lost it.
She completely lost it.
But
So I think
between
what they try to do is have it slip back in a little bit.
yeah, in certain situations, but it's like I was okay with her losing the accent. Like I wasn't
Me
like
too.
a lot of people were up in arms about it. I'm like, really, that's what you're upset about? Um, it is funny when it kind of slips in and out, and you kind of forget that. Like you forget, like, oh yeah, they were from Sokovia, and this is and all this stuff, and so it's like I like we can all agree that Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, is amazing. Like she
Yes.
played the part perfectly. Uh, you know, she's amazing. You know, the accent, all that stuff. It's kind of like a running joke. Like we accept it, but it's like it wasn't that
Mhm.
great. But
Yeah.
we accept it. We're like, oh, okay, we'll look past that. So, it every once in a while it comes in and out. It's kind of funny because you forget. But I was okay with
Mhm.
it. But I just got I caught on that because she said something and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot she had an accent.
Yeah. But what did you think of like all of these scenes of like them preparing for the baby? Because one of the things I didn't mention was Dr. Nielsen says like this, to keep the women comfortable at the tell them the size of the fetus by fruit and like and then at 8 months it's a honeydew melon and like I'm thinking like as a woman I'm sitting here thinking you want me to eject a honeydew melon out of my body through a very tiny little hole. Like, I know that women's bodies can do that, but that's not going to comfort me. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of weird shit that they said back in the 70s, I guess. And there's another thing that Dr. Nielsen says later that I'm like, "Oh, we're playing into all the tropes from the 70s, except they're not really tropes, they were real life." But we'll get to that. Um what did you think of this whole, like, getting ready for baby situation?
Well, as somebody that has seen 4 kids uh, born, you're right.
Mhm.
That is not natural.
No. I
It's
mean, it
natural.
is, but it
It's
shouldn't
natural.
be.
The way it happens is not natural, but um, it's kind of crazy to think about it. Like a honeydew, the size of a honeydew, and sometimes they're longer,
Sometimes
and,
they're bigger,
and
then
sometimes they're
longer.
bigger.
More
Yeah.
like this, more like a watermelon than a honeydew, I would say.
Yes, very much so. Um, but the tropes of having a child, and that's a true thing. Like when you find out you have a child, I've seen it. You know, from the women I had with children with, they become very like nesty and wanting to clean and wanting to put everything together, and the husbands or the fathers are very nervous. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's nobody ever prepares you for a child. Nobody
No.
tells you like everyone can tell you like
There's no manual to read, even though Vision was trying to read that book about pregnancy.
exactly, and it's funny, but but it's not even like taking care of a child. It's like the process of a child. The pregnancy, the the labor, the afterwards, like how things are you have to look at and take care of, and the mother after she gives labor. Like we know that Wanda has special powers, but like how does that work? We obviously see she's pregnant, and the next thing you know, she's 8 months, and next thing you know, her water's breaking, and all these things. So it's kind of interesting to see. Very funny as far as just tropey, and kind of again making it like a sitcom and not like a Marvel movie, like or sorry
Yeah.
show. It's not like a Marvel show. It's more like sitcom. Saturday night or Wednesday night kind of TGI Friday kind of show. Um, and they play into that. And again, like one thing I like is it gives you it's like a breath of fresh air, where it's not just a Marvel superheroes flying around kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved the TV tropes in this. Like I remember when they first announced the show, and they announced the show was called WandaVision, and then Kevin Feige said, "There's a reason why it's called WandaVision," and I was like, "This is the dumbest name ever." But like as you watch the show, you realize, oh, this is Wanda. First off, it's Wanda's vision, of like what she would want her life to be like if she lived in a sitcom, and she's actually broadcasting it, and we get into that in episode 4, so we'll talk about that more then. But it's like Wanda's version of television, her perfect TV life, except nothing's ever perfect, and and there's this really deep dark, secret underneath it all, which we'll get to, because she's doing something that's not exactly very nice to the people of
or
Westview,
or ethical.
or ethical. Yeah. And then you throw Agnes in there, and it's a whole nother thing. But that's for a few episodes down the line. Um, I liked the part where they were putting together the crib. Well, she was putting together the crib, and she was the one putting up the mobile, and she was the one painting the mural because she was doing it all with her magic. And Vision's just sitting there reading a book, and then he realizes that she shouldn't be on her feet. And he's like, "Honey, you should sit down." It was very funny to me. Um, then, her water breaks, and she's having contractions, and Vision runs to go get Dr. Nielsen. And I don't think Vision has super speed. I don't think we ever see Vision with super speed until that moment, and I think that that's because Wanda gave him that in what we come to know as the hex. I don't
Hmm.
think that that's something we ever saw Vision have before, because Vision, if he wanted to get somewhere, would just fly. But
And he
here
can
he
fly
had super
fast.
speed. He could
Yeah.
fly fast. But here he had super speed like Pietro.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe that's just a again what's going on with Wanda in her mind, remembering those things and how you know she would think of how Vision or her brother would go get a doctor for her. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too. And then we have uh, Geraldine, who is not Geraldine, but we find this out in episode 4 more. Come over and she wants to borrow a bucket because all the pipes in her ceiling burst. And so Wanda has affected the entire block, basically. But there's something interesting about this and the writing of this that I don't understand. And that's the conversation that's had between Vision and Herb, who's still trimming the hedges, and Agnes, where they're like, she has no home, she has no family. Where did Geraldine's pipes burst? And how did she know that that was what was going on the block?
Well, I think when we find out in episode 4 what happens, I think that when she entered, how she went in, that she is under what we find out later is the hex. But again, where I said there's breaks, she is not fully under because I think, um, I think Scarlet Witch hex the town. She wasn't in there when it got hexed, so
Yeah.
she's under the hex, but she can break in and out of it. And we see that
I
when
don't think she's under the hex. I think she's just playing along, trying to
um
figure out what is going on. Because she knows. Like, she knows about Pietro. She knows about Ultron. She knows. If you even go back to that first scene where she's not just sitting there anymore, but she's talking to Wanda at that like thing Dottie organized for the magic show. It takes her a second to think of a name that would be appropriate for a woman in that time period. Like, no one, there weren't probably a lot of Monicas running around at that time period.
I get what you're saying, but I think in episode 4 when we get there, I think I disagree because in episode 4, the way, and we'll talk about that when it happens, I think the way she reacts, I think she was half under the hex, half kind of like knowing what's going on, but is like still part of the show that's going on, but can break out of it and realize, oh, something's wrong, and kind of
Yeah.
like tries to communicate that. So that I think
See,
that's what it is.
the reason why I don't think she's under the hex is because we will learn later in the show that Agnes isn't either. She's just there to cause chaos. She shows up and she just turns herself into a character in that world and plays along. She is not under Wanda's influence, and I don't think Geraldine / Monica is either. I think she's just playing along, trying to figure out what is going on, and then she makes Wanda angry at the end of this episode, and Wanda expels her and calls her, she's not a stranger, she shouldn't be there. Like, she's not part of what Wanda created. So
That's why I
she's
think,
not under Wanda's spell.
yeah, but that's why I think she's not under the like she is and she isn't under the spell because it's like a TV episode, so everybody has to play their part. Like you ever see those tropes in TV shows where they go into a TV show into a like it's a TV show into another TV show, so they have to play the part of the TV show, but they
Yeah,
know
yeah,
they're not
yeah.
in the TV show, but they're playing the part just to get through it. I
Yeah,
think
that's what
that's what's
she's
going on.
doing.
But
Yeah,
I
that's
but
what
I
she's doing for sure.
but I think she's consciously is doing it, but is also still unsure of what's going on. Like, you know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
100%.
Because like we'll get at the end of this when she talks about Pietro, she goes, he was killed by Ultron, but that just comes out of nowhere, and then she goes back to the character of Geraldine. That's what I'm saying. It
Because
feels like
because she realizes Wanda's upset. Like, if you watch Elizabeth Olsen in that moment, her whole like demeanor changes when she brings up that Pietro was killed by Ultron, and then that's when she's like, "You're not supposed to be here," and she sees the sword symbol on her necklace from her uniform that she was wearing when she got sucked into the thing, and she recognizes that it's the same symbol that was on that little helicopter that was in the bush that was the S.W.O.R.D drone that Monica flew in there. And she knows somebody's trying to get in and stop whatever's going on there, and that's not what she wants.
Okay.
That's just my thought. But before all of the conversation about Pietro, Geraldine delivers Billy. Because Billy's the one that's born first. And then Vision and Dr. Nielsen show up, and Dr. Nielsen is like, what is going on? And Geraldine tells him to go into the kitchen with her, and Vision, stops being human Vision for a moment and meets his son with his real face. And then Wanda starts screaming again because there's another baby. And this one is Tommy.
Yep.
Oh no, Tommy's born first. It's Billy that is born second because
he says Tommy, and she goes, "Oh, okay, yeah," because he wanted Billy, and then Billy comes.
Yeah, it's Tommy that's born first. So, Wanda and Vision have twins. Somehow.
Straight out of the comic book.
Yep. This is, I believe, one of the reasons why everyone was like, Mephisto! When this show was coming out. It's because Mephisto plays such a part in creation of Billy and Tommy in the comic books that they just assumed it would be part of this in the show too.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think the way that they went about explaining how Billy and Tommy end up being real people in Agatha all along is really interesting and different, and it doesn't involve Mephisto, but it makes sense. What do you think?
Yeah,
have you seen Agatha all along?
I've seen some of it. I didn't watch it full, so we're obviously gonna cover it. So I'll be watching.
We will cover it. I love it. I love it so much.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't love that show. But I, from what I understand, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm a comic book guy. You know that, and I like sticking to the comics, but sometimes you can't. So like, it's fine as long as it makes sense. That's all I care about. So when we watch Agatha, I'll have to see and then give you my real opinion. Because I'll be honest, I only watch parts. I didn't watch the full.
Okay, did you watch the episode that is completely Billy's backstory before he meets Agatha?
No.
Okay, that's my favorite episode of the entire show, and it's the episode where you find out how he is Billy, and you go from there.
Okay.
But so Billy and Tommy are born. Wanda and tells Vision takes Dr. Nielsen back to his house. Not as fast as they got there, because Dr. Nielsen says, hopefully we can just walk this time.
Yeah. And he starts talking about not being able to get out, can't get away, things like that. So that's why I was talking about the break. Because it gets really weird. Yeah,
absolutely. And then when Dr. Nielsen leaves, Vision catches Herb and Agnes gossiping about Geraldine being in the house, I guess. And they ask Vision about her. Is she in there? And he's like, yes. And Herb tries to tell Vision something about the situation. Agnes stops him, tells him that Geraldine doesn't have a home or family in Westview. And then stops Herb from telling him more. Agnes leaves, Herb leaves, and Vision looks very confused. This I thought was interesting because it showed that you don't have to necessarily break character to know what's going on. It's not like she's totally taken over their minds. She's created a thing where she's given everyone a role and they have to play their parts, but they can break character at any moment. And that was very interesting to me.
Yeah. Totally agree. I think that we find out later what's going on. So kind of it like if we were watching for the first time, we wouldn't get it, but because we
Oh
know,
yeah, I totally didn't know what the hell was going on at this
yeah,
point.
it makes sense. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but we gotta act like we don't know until we get to that episode.
Well, it's the Rewatchers Council. It's not the.
I know. But
If you're watching this, you probably rewatched the show. But anyways, Geraldine is listening to Wanda sing a Sokovian lullaby to the boys, the twins. This is when she says Wanda had told her that she's a twin and she had a brother named Pietro, and that's when Geraldine says he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? Wanda freaks out, basically, like, goes full on, like, you're not ruining this for me. This is my perfect family home. I don't know what you're doing here. Like, there's so much going on in Elizabeth Olsen's face when she's having this conversation with Geraldine. Like, you're not ruining this for me.
Yeah, totally agree.
And then Vision comes back and Geraldine's gone. And we don't know what happened to Geraldine until the end of episode 4. Yeah. Should we just see her at the end of this episode outside of something, Westview, being surrounded by people in trucks with their lights on. Still dressed in the 70s garb. She doesn't say anything at this point. So,
yeah.
That's episode 3. We didn't talk about the commercial in episode 3, which was for some sort of, like, bath powder thing called Hydra Soak.
Hydra. Makes sense.
Yeah. I remember thinking that all these commercials were going to lead to something. They led to nothing. They were just things that were clues about Wanda's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's episode 3. I can hear myself again. That's very weird.
Oh, what's going on?
I don't know. Let's go to episode 4. Episode 4 was called We Interrupt This Program. And it started with perhaps one of the most heartbreaking things we've seen in the Marvel Universe, which is what it looked like when people came back from the snap. Because we hadn't seen that yet. We had not seen what it looked like when someone came back yet. We'd seen people get, snapped away. But we hadn't seen what it looked like when they came back. And they chose to set this at a hospital. And it's freaking chaos in that hospital. There's not capacity in that hospital for all the people that just reappeared. And one of those people that reappeared was an adult, Monica Rambeau, who, of course, was the little girl in Captain Marvel. And she's running around. She's trying to find her mother, who was a hospital patient at the time of the blip. And she finds a doctor. And the doctor is, like, in shock that she's back, for one. But has to tell her that her mother, Maria Rambeau, died 3 years ago, which was 2 years after she disappeared. That would be gut-wrenching to be told.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I just can't imagine it. But this, I thought, was a really interesting way of not only establishing what happened after the blip, but also establishing that we aren't going to have Lashana Lynch as Maria Rambeau and just, like, aged up with makeup and a wig and stuff. As, like, an elderly Maria Rambeau. Because that's kind of what she would be by that point in the MCU. I mean, I don't know exactly how old she was in Captain Marvel, but she was an adult with a daughter who looked like she was, like, 11 in the 90s. And then you've got 30 years later or whatever is when the WandaVision is set, right after Endgame. So, because we got that 5-year time jump in Endgame, so I don't know how old Maria Rambeau would be supposed to be, but I'm glad they didn't just recast her with an older actress or dress up Lashana Lynch. I kind of like that they went this route because it means that Lashana Lynch is free to do something else in the MCU, which we see at the end of the Marvels.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think of this whole like seeing people come back thing?
It was interesting, like the way you said it was interesting how they did it. Um, I think that you like you said it was very gut wrenching of what happened, how she finds out her mom passes. So that's sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they did it in a clever way, and it's probably something you weren't expecting to see in the show, of how that happened. So that was interesting
Yeah,
to see.
absolutely. Then we've got Maria, not Maria, Monica, trying to go back to work at S.W.O.R.D, which is an organization we learn Maria Rambeau founded. And she goes back 3 weeks later. I'm sorry, if you just told me, not only had I been, snapped out of existence for 5 years, but also in that 5 years, my mother died of cancer, I would not be at work 3 weeks later. I don't know about you.
No, definitely not. Definitely agree. But I mean, that's how some people deal with their trauma. They
Yeah.
work themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, then we have her meeting Tyler Hayward, the acting director of S.W.O.R.D. I hated him on sight. What did you think? He just is a guy that looks smarmy.
Oh
I didn't
yeah,
like
yeah,
him.
yeah, for sure. Look like a scumbag right off the bat.
Yeah. He's walking her around. He's showing her things that S.W.O.R.D has going on. We learn that it's kind of like the space mission thing, like a version of S.H.I.E.L.D., but with like space as the focus. But then he tells Monica that she's grounded from going to space right now. She's only assigned to terrestrial missions. And Monica's like, whose rule is that? And he was like, your mother's. Because Maria, as the director of S.W.O.R.D, had directed before her death that if anyone returned from the blip, they were grounded on terrestrial missions for a while, just to make sure everything was okay. So Hayward wants her to go to New Jersey to help with an FBI request for help with a missing persons case. And she doesn't want to do it, but she does. And she goes out there and she meets Jimmy Woo, who might be one of my favorite characters from the Ant-Man films that isn't, Paul Rudd or anything. Jimmy Woo is hysterical in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I'm glad we got him here. He's more serious here, but he's still like when he goes to introduce himself to her, he does the magic with the card appearing in his hand and stuff like that. He's working on a missing persons case in Westview, New Jersey, except that the two local police officers they're dealing with say there is no Westview, New Jersey, right as they're sitting next to a sign that says "Welcome to Westview" on it.
Yeah, I think they even say like, oh, we're from Eastview.
Yeah.
So it was interesting.
Yeah, Eastview is a town that comes into play in that episode of Agatha All Along that I told you about.
Oh, okay.
So, it's a real place, the Eastview, and Westview's a real place too. They just can't remember it for some reason. And so they leave, and Jimmy explains to Monica that he can't physically enter the town because there's like some sort of unknown psychic force holding him back or something. I hear myself again. This is very weird. They discover like this like energy force field thing around the town when Monica's flying their drone, and the drone is a little helicopter shaped thing, which is the one that they plucked up. Wanda did in episode 2 of WandaVision. That was all in color because it wasn't supposed to be there. And then it disappears. It just disappears. And they go up and they find the force field, and Monica touches it, and it sucks her in. And so within 24 hours of that happening, S.W.O.R.D has surrounded this like hexagonal shaped force field. And this is when we get a truck arriving at their, like headquarters for this, and Darcy Lewis, everybody's favorite character from the Thor movies. I say that sarcastically. I think the majority of people absolutely hated Darcy in the Thor movies. She's here, and she is Dr. Darcy Lewis now. She's not just hanging around with Jane Foster for a science credit, and she's been brought in to study the phenomenon. She's snarky. She immediately is like just sassing the guy that there's trying to get her to work. And then she starts looking at the signals coming from the stuff. She discovers a lot of CMBR energy, which I wrote down what that is. CMBR is cosmic microwave background energy, or relic radiation, which is like the leftover radiation from the Big Bang, basically. So there's a lot of CMBR energy surrounding the town, but she also sees that there's like a television broadcast signal. So she pulls up this piece of equipment that has some sort of old school TV monitor in it. She gets the picture on there, and she immediately realizes that, like, it's the first episode of WandaVision. And she goes and tells them she needs an old school TV, not flat, which I thought was really interesting. Tyler Hayward comes in. He's trying to figure out what's going on, and he hears Darcy laughing. And he's like, what is going on? Like, he's like, nothing should be funny here. What are we laughing about? And then they all go over to where Darcy is and realize she's watching TV of Wanda and Vision. And he's like, what is this? And so he asks her a bunch of questions that she doesn't have answers to, but it's the first real like development of what's going on inside this town that they got on the outside. Shug, what were your thoughts on Darcy's inclusion and her being smart enough to figure this out in like 2 seconds?
I mean, it was just, hey, let's throw a familiar face into the show, and we got to figure out how to show what's going on the inside and the perspective of what we've already seen, how they discover it, and how it's being seen outside of what we saw. So it was a very interesting and very clever way to do it. I think that as we get deeper, as we go along, they're going along watching each episode and starting to piece things together, figure out who each person that comes on the show, who they are really, and what their actual name is, and kind of putting that together. They even talk about, there's a part where they're watching and they're like, what are we on now, in the 1970s? And they're like, they're going along with what we've been watching already. Like, okay, they started out in the 50s, they're in the 60s, and the 70s. So they're kind of going along. They're seeing it how we see it. So that was interesting. Yeah. Then you see that, like, they try to communicate with Wanda. But I think she notices something but doesn't report it, of when she does, when Jimmy's trying to talk to Wanda, she sees it on the TV and she sees something happen.
It just cuts. It like cuts out a section of what we saw in the scene with Wanda and Dottie. What Darcy sees, it's missing. I don't remember what exactly it is. But.
Yeah, but she's like, that's interesting. And so they're kind of doing their, watching it, figuring it out, and then that's when they go, they get the alarm that something's happening, and that's when we see Monica come out of the force field. And when I was talking about why I think she was kind of still under the hex is because she doesn't immediately get up and tell them what happened. she wakes up and she goes, "It was Wanda. It was Wanda all along." And that's why I think she was under the hex a little bit because it was almost um, like a realization, because like maybe she thought like she didn't really understand what was going on until she realized that it was
Yeah.
Wanda was created. So that's why I said I think she is still she was part of the hex. Um, there is another part where the Envision comes in to talk to Wanda, and she turns and looks at him, and you see the dead body of Vision,
Yeah.
and that kind of freaks her out, and you see that Wanda threw Monica out. We see what happens. She throws Monica out. She crashes through all these doors and windows and walls, out the hex, and then Wanda fixes everything. Vision walks in. She sees dead Vision, and they kind of just, and then they go, "What do you want to watch?" And they sit down on the TV or sit down on the couch and watch TV, and the episode ends. Um, I think that was a clever way to kind of explain. Because, like I said, if you were watching this for the first time, you're like, "What the hell's going on?" This explained what was going on in episode 1 and 2, and 3,
Yeah.
because then we even see the beekeeper, where we're like,
Yeah.
where did he come from? Well, he was a guy in a suit, in a radiation suit, climbing through the sewage system to get into the town to find out what's going on. And as he passes the force field, his suit changes into a beekeeper thing. So when he gets up and he's looking around and Wanda and Vision see him, why he looks the way he is and everything like that, and so you get that explanation. So you get all the explanation of the questions we were asking, through the eyes of the characters in the show. So I thought that was a very clever way of setting it up, and
I agree.
wanted us to ask questions and kind of in some of those questions answered.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this was a clever spot to put this, because we had 3 episodes building of like, something's off here, something's wrong here. We've seen Wanda rewind time. We've seen Wanda magically become pregnant. We've seen all these things, and then we weren't sure what was going on. The end of episode 3, you started to be like, okay, Wanda might be in control of this, but maybe she's just using her magic or whatever to get out of it. And then by this one, um, what is going on. You know that it's Wanda. So yeah, um, I don't remember. There wasn't like an intro to this episode, was there? A
Not that I
WandaVision
remember.
intro?
Not that I
No, I don't
remember.
think there was. Um, so there were. I think these are 2 very interesting episodes to cover back to back. It's like one sets up what the other one pays off with
Yeah.
the revealing what's going on.
Yeah, and then we kind of get into a Marvel show now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the first time, other than just like Wanda controlling stuff with her mind, that we saw actual like magic being used. But that's WandaVision episodes 3 and 4. Shug, thank you for joining me. Where can people on the channel find you?
They can find me here with you doing Rewatchers Council of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can also find me on 90 Feet, our baseball show. Also, Still Conspiracy, that will be coming back. And whatever other show I pop on. Next Friday, I'm going to say this, next Friday, we have a big Pulse episode coming up. It is Adelia's birthday, so if you're watching this, be there, because it's going to be very exciting. We're going to celebrate Adelia. We're also going to talk some stuff. Talk about, I think it's on the entertainment side, so we'll talk about entertainment and stuff. But want to be there for Adelia's birthday as she's turning 22, right? 22, 23, 25? I remember the number later, but it's around there. But make sure to come and hang out with us. That is a very important day, a very important episode for the channel and our group. So please be there. And yeah, make sure to like, subscribe. Like Adelia said, check out all our links. Make sure to follow, because we're almost to how many on this channel?
We are currently at 1,098 subscribers on this channel, so we need 2 more subscribers to get us to 1,100. So if
Yes.
you are new here, if you liked our vibe, if you like what we do on this channel, please subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Also, like the video. That really helps us out with the algorithm. Leave us a comment telling us what you thought of these 2 episodes of WandaVision. That is all great and helps very much. You can find me on our sports channel, Good Friends Better Rivals. You can get there by going to goodfriendsbetterrivals.com. That Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, recapping the final weekend in the Premier League with Snark. It's Snark's last episode of the Premier League version of Starting 11. So do come by and talk to us about the Premier League then. And then on the Pulse for this week, it's on Good Friends Better Rivals. We alternate weeks between the 2 channels. And on Good Friends Better Rivals Pulse Edition this week, we are talking about the sudden sad passing of Kyle Busch, the NASCAR icon, today. That was shocking news that came through earlier. We're going to talk some NBA playoffs. We're going to talk about this potential 24-team college football playoff, which sounds awful. And we're going to talk about the Premier League's final weekend, because while the title race may be decided and Arsenal may be champions, there is still the relegation race and European places to decide. So, some big games still to come this weekend in the Premier League, and yeah, other stuff too. So come check that out. Thank you,
Yep.
everyone, for joining us. Appreciate you all, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.